Good morning. I'm amazed so many of you are here. There's a lot of distractions in Amsterdam. I am not Charles Zedlewski. Charles was originally scheduled to appear, but he had a lot of travel problems and canceled flights. I think they were trying to schedule his flights using MapReduce, and it just took too long, and finally he gave up. This is the only audience in the world where you can say something like that and get any kind of response. So Cloudera, we have been supporters and enthusiasts of Spark for quite a long time. In fact, right around 2 years ago, Mike Olson, our founder, wrote a blog post about Spark and how it was really the eventual replacement for MapReduce, and we continue to believe that very strongly. This timeline just shows a lot of the highlights of the last 2 years for Cloudera, things that we've been working on with Spark. We've been shipping Spark as part of our distribution, the most popular Hadoop distribution, for about 1.5 years now, since version 4.4. We're about to ship version 5.5 pretty soon. We launched Spark training quite a while ago. In fact, we just announced 4 new Spark training courses at Strata Hadoop World about a month ago, and have written, when I say we have written a book, I really mean 4 other people, our data scientists. Sean Owen is here, for example, on Spark. So we are very heavily invested in Spark and committed to its success in the big data market. Not only do we support it and work on it, but we have contributed, we think, quite a few important innovations in the last couple of years. Here are some of them. I'm not going to read all this, but as you heard yesterday from Barclays, from Intel, from others, Spark is a very important part of the big data ecosystem, but certainly not the only part. It has to integrate with the other open source frameworks that our customers rely on, and it has to integrate with the applications and tools that they use to do analytics and data processing. And that's a lot of the work that we've been doing to make Spark fit well into the enterprise environment, which is really our bread and butter. After 2 years, Cloudera has, we're approaching about 700 paid enterprise customers at this point. Over 200 of them are using Spark today, and the majority of those are using Spark in production. So we feel like we have as much experience as anybody seeing what Spark can do in the enterprise market and making sure that we're meeting the expectations of our customers, many of whom are very demanding, not only of Spark, but of Cloudera in general, insisting on enterprise quality, security, management, governance, all of the things that they expect from any data management system. So that's really what we've been working on. As we talk to all these customers and work with them and help them, we see emerging patterns of use. I think you've heard about a lot of them at this conference and past Spark summits. But these are some of the most popular use cases that we see. I don't think any of this will be a big surprise. Predictive analytics is obviously something that's very important. Stream processing. We have a lot of customers using Hadoop and Spark in general just for speeding up ETL of all sorts. So these are really some of the most popular use cases. And usually, Spark is co-installed with other frameworks in our system. So it's, in our case, very rarely used all by itself. It's used in conjunction with search. It's used in conjunction with interactive SQL through Impala, with HBase or with Hive. So again, the integration of Spark into our enterprise data hub architecture is critical because our customers are trying to solve very complex problems using Spark and all of the other data processing tools that we provide. But there's always things that they want that don't exist yet. So these are some of the things that they are really, I would say asking is a polite way of putting it, really demanding of us. So number one is security. And this doesn't apply just to Spark, but to our whole stack. These days, it's obvious security is probably the most important feature in any type of data system, especially when, as we're promoting the idea of putting all of your data into an enterprise data hub, into a Hadoop cluster, so that you can then preserve it both for history and for analytics and for real-time processing. It must be secure. So we're putting a huge effort into security. And performance. Spark, of course, is a very high-performance system, but our customers, as they scale it up, integrate Spark with all of the other frameworks, they really are demanding that it work just as well as the other systems that they might be augmenting or even replacing. And then lastly, this is a very complicated world. The world of Hadoop and Spark is extremely complicated for customers, and one of the big values of Cloudera and of all the companies in this market is that we try to make life simpler by providing management tools and governance tools, and that has to continue as you add Spark to the mix. So recently, about a month ago, at Strata Hadoop World in New York, we announced 2 new open source projects that are relevant along these lines. And I'll talk about them very briefly here. Record service is the first one I'll mention. This is a way to enforce access control policies in a consistent way across the stack. Today, in our solution, policies are really framework dependent. You might have to implement different policies for each framework. Data can be stored in HBase or HDFS, and you might have different policies for access for data in those frameworks. And then depending on how you're accessing the data, whether it's through Spark or Impala or Search, you might have to implement different policies there, and it's just very complex for our customers. So record service is a layer, if you think of it, between the data storage and the data access method, and the idea is to make the enforcement of access control consistent and easy to implement across the system, no matter where you're storing the data and no matter how you're accessing the data. So we're very excited about that, and we hope that that makes life easier for our customers and helps them to implement more secure systems. The second thing we announced last month was a new storage framework for the Hadoop ecosystem called Kudu. We found, and I think all of you who work with Hadoop probably know, the 2 methods that were available have been HDFS and HBase. HDFS was great for storing arbitrary data of essentially any type, and for doing large-scale analytics on that data. And HBase was great for high-speed serving and updates, data that needs to be updated. Of course, you can't update the data in HDFS, so there was a lot of customers that we were working with that have the problem of trying to do analytics on fast-changing data, and it's very complicated to implement in the Hadoop ecosystem, as many of you probably know. So Kudu is intended to fill that analytic gap by providing a place to store data when you require fast analytics on fast-changing data. It's not a replacement for HDFS, and it's not a replacement for HBase. It really is something that would be implemented when you have a use case that has those requirements. There are still going to be plenty of use cases where HDFS is the best implementation to store data, and there are going to be others where HBase is really the best solution. But we think there's a very exciting gap in the middle there, and our customers, so far the response to Kudu has been great. Both of these projects, Record Service and Kudu, entered beta a month ago, and if you would like to participate in the open source community for either of them, you should get in touch with the people involved. We are excited about both and inviting people to contribute very actively, so please get in touch with us. So in conclusion, I think the main thing that we want to communicate is that we do agree that Spark is probably the replacement for MapReduce. We have been committed to it for a couple of years. We have invested a tremendous amount in it. We have, I believe, 4 or 5 committers at Cloudera today, and are looking for more if there's any that want to join. We think we're doing everything we can to promote Spark, to make it part of our customers' solutions. Our customers are demanding it. They're very excited about it. And we're excited that all of you are helping to contribute to it. The key thing that we're focused on as a company is providing value to our customers. One thing we have learned in the years we've been around is that technology for technology's sake is not that exciting. Our customers really want to understand how they can use this technology to get business value. It's a confusing space, and we do our best to try to explain it. But the more applications that you all can build that get value, deliver value for customers, the better. And together we can all help the enterprises who are adopting this at great speed get more value out of it. So with that, thank you very much. Come by our stand if you'd like to ask questions. We have a lot of people here, and I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much.